The Red Sox are finally back in the win column. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin. The Boston Red Sox just won their first series post All-Star break. Kind of crazy to say, but that officially puts them at 57-50 on the season, 7 games back of the Orioles of first place, and 2 games out of the wild card race. And I gotta tell you, it feels real good to see the Red Sox win a series once again. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're gonna break this series down. We're gonna talk about what went right, obviously what still went wrong in this series despite the win, and of course how all of this affects the 2024 Red Sox. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. You know what's kind of wild? Right now, it feels like the walls have been closing in on this Red Sox team for a little bit now, but still, overall, taking a look at this month, despite what they did in the last half of it, it really didn't end up all that bad. They finished this month 13th and 11, still positive in terms of their winning percentage on this month, which is kind of crazy to say, and a lot of that had to do with what went on in this series, and there are a couple of people/things that we need to highlight that went really right for the Boston Red Sox. The first thing is Rafael Devers, who is flat out on another planet right now. In this series, he went 7 for 13. He had at least a double in every single game. In some games, he had multiple, a 4 RBI game. Oh, and he walked this series off in the bottom of the 10th inning to secure the Red Sox series win. I mean, the dude is white hot right now. Offensively, Rafi is having one of, if not the best season of his entire career, and he may have just had the best month of his entire career as well, because in the month of July, he had a 1.132 OPS and a 204 OPS plus, 104% better than the average player in Major League Baseball. He is doing everything right on the field right now. It is flat out impressive to watch. Rafael Devers is just a different human being when it comes to offensive production. However, the second biggest thing, in my opinion, that led to this series win for the Boston Red Sox came on the pitching side of things, and that was Brayan Bello. This start from Bello was easily one of the best starts of his entire career, and it looked like the Bello that we know and love. He went 6 1/3 innings, allowed 2 earned runs on 7 hits, whilst walking 2 and striking out 7. This was clearly the best start Bello's had in a long time, which is fantastic. And we talk about it all the time, but this rotation, it's in a bit of shambles right now. We don't really know what to expect from the Boston Red Sox starting rotation for the next couple of months. However, what we do know is that Bello's going to need to be a major part of it. If this is the Bello that we can get going forward, this rotation will be in a much better place. But for right now, we're considering these baby steps, right? We've talked about it since he had to take a break and miss a start. Basically, what he needs to do right now is to continue to take small steps down the right path to get himself back to the player he could be. This was one big step. Let's see how that continues. Back to the offense a little bit, though, because we still need to talk about some guys there. Masataka Yoshida also played a key role in this series. He had 5 hits, but he also scored another 5 runs, 1 in each game, and he left the yard as well for a 4 RBI game in the first game. Another guy who's had a great July with a 992 OPS and a 175 OPS plus. But when Masataka Yoshida is on and hitting like this, kind of like we know he can hit, right? We've talked about it all season long. We know Masa can produce. He just needs to get there. This is him getting there. This offense looks completely different in the best way possible. Jarren Duran had at least 1 hit in every single game. He also had 2 doubles in here as well, which now puts him tied at the top of the AL for doubles. He has been battling to get to the top of that list for a couple of series now, so cool to see him get there. Again, we talk about Jarren Duran every single series because he just comes in here and he produces day in and day out. He continues to be one of the best players in Major League Baseball. And finally, we got to shout out Dom Smith, who apparently saw Tristan Casas making his way back and decided to be one of the Red Sox best hitters to save his spot on this roster, and it worked out really well in this series. He had 5 hits, 4 of them were for doubles, and 3 RBIs. It's like he saw Casas and turned on the Jets or something. He's been making mistakes defensively for sure, and we'll get into that in a second, but offensively, it's hard to complain about anything Dom Smith is doing right now. And when we're looking at the positive takeaways from this series, it's really the positive takeaways from this month. The offense has been, specifically since the All-Star break, one of the top 3 offenses in the entire sport when it comes to OPS and runs scored. They're scoring over 6 runs a game. That is absolutely impressive. Everything this offense is doing right now is in the right spot. It's fully clicking and there's a possibility that this offense gets even better. You've got Tristan Casas coming back from the IL. He's rehabbing right now in Worcester, and he's playing full games in Worcester. It may not be too long until we see that bat added into this juggernaut of an offense right now. You added in Nick Sogard, who probably isn't going to do anything crazy, but he is going to be a bit better offensively than Jamie Westbrook. So not only are you raising the ceiling of this offense soon, you're also raising the floor as well. Offensively right now, they are flat carrying the Boston Red Sox. Any wins that they have been getting recently have been because of this offense, and it continues to be the case in this series. But we also did see some signs of life from the Red Sox pitching staff in here, right? You got the start from Brian Bayo, which was absolutely massive, but also the bullpen, which has been probably your biggest issue since coming out of the All-Star break, had a really big game in this last game as well. The newly acquired Lucas Sims came into a really big situation. He was able to get out of it. Zach Kelly, who had been struggling for a while, he came into a game. He got himself into a tricky situation, but he got out of it. Kenley Jansen finally looked locked down once again. Coming out of this series, there were positive signs from this Red Sox team pitching-wise, and that is absolutely what this team needed. There were a lot of positive takeaways from their first series win since the All-Star break, and that's a great sign. Hopefully, this is the confidence boost that this young team needs to get themselves playing again like they were before the break. However, it wasn't all sunshine and daisies, so we got to talk about some negatives in this series as well. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton. Best way to let me know you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Thank you all very much for taking a second and doing so. Let's get into some of the negatives. There were two things in this series that really stood out in a negative fashion. The first one was the Red Sox defense. In their first two games of this series, they had 4 errors, including 3 errors in the game that they lost, leading to really the biggest reason why the Red Sox lost this game. They simply could not keep unearned runs off the board, and it's been a bit of a problem for a little bit now. Basically, again, since the All-Star break, it's felt like this defense looked once again like it did at the beginning of the year. When the Red Sox were winning and the Red Sox had a really great winning percentage, a lot of that had to do with the fact that they kind of stifled their defensive mistakes. And I'm not talking about physical ones, because the Red Sox can make physical mistakes once in a while. It's the mental ones that absolutely kill this team. It's the ones that they know they can make and have made 100 times, but for some reason can't figure out a way to make during this stretch of games. And that's been the problem for the Red Sox for a little bit now, and it showed up in this series. I think the biggest thing here with this Red Sox defense is their confidence. Again, we talk about it all the time. This is a young team who's still trying to really figure themselves out at the major league level, and when you have stretches where you just simply feel like nothing's going right, I think that definitely leads to why this Red Sox team has a lot of errors on the board. I think what they needed was a really solid, clean game, a really solid, clean series win to get themselves confident again. Hopefully, that's what we got in this Mariners series. Hopefully, this last game where they did play a clean game and ended up winning this series gives them the confidence they need to get back to playing clean baseball, because if they can't, that's going to be a really big problem. It could be the reason that they don't make a playoffs this season, is if they can't figure out their defense, because it really does make it basically impossible for this offense to carry you if you're going out there and your pitchers are giving you a little bit of something and you end up giving it away anyway. So hopefully the errors are minimized going forward. Hopefully we start to see the defense that we saw while the Red Sox were winning a whole lot of games. The other part of this, the other issue that the Red Sox had in this series was once again their pitching staff, which flat out kind of looked ugly. Nick Pivetta had a really solid start overall in this series. He went 6 2/3 innings, allowing 3 earned runs, striking out a ridiculous 10 batters. That was a really good start. But then the pen, specifically Troy Wingenter, came in and gave up 4 runs. Thank God the Red Sox offense blew up offensively here, because if they hadn't, we're probably talking about an entirely different series. But that's sort of been the landmark of the Boston Red Sox since the All-Star break. The starting pitching hasn't been fantastic, but it has, for the most part, been enough to keep you in games. It's really been the bullpen that's been the problem, and it felt like in the first game, the Red Sox going forward were just going to have to score 14 runs a game to continue to win baseball games. Luckily for the Red Sox, they were able to win a game based on their pitching in the finale. The second game really wasn't all that different. James Paxton, if you look at his stat line, not exactly the fantastic start in the world, got a little bit screwed defensively here. He ended up with a 4 1/3 stat line, allowing 6 runs, 3 of them earned while striking out 5. I honestly don't think this is too bad of a start from James Paxton. If the defense had been better, which we just talked about, we're probably talking about a different game here. But the bullpen once again was just kind of ugly. Zach Kelly came in, allowed runs to score. That dude, Yohan Ramirez, was all over the place, allowed 3 runs, 2 of them were earned. The good news here is that those guys probably are going to be playing a major factor going forward. Not Zach Kelly, but Yohan Ramirez is no longer on the Boston Red Sox. You're looking at a different team here. The Red Sox pitching staff, though, has been flat out ugly since the All-Star break. In fact, it has been in 9 of their 12 games since the break that they have allowed 7 earned runs. It's been their Achilles heel. It's been the reason the Red Sox simply have not been able to continue to win baseball games, because this offense is doing everything in their power to put this team in a winning position. Unfortunately, the pitching and the defense right now are doing everything in their power to put their team in a position to lose games as well. And that's just simply, like we've talked about a million times since the All-Star break, something that needs to get fixed. And I think that's the point of this entire series to me. To me, this is a reminder that there is a light at the end of the tunnel here. The offense is continuing to play really, really well. If you could figure out the defense, your pitching actually looked pretty solid in this series. And talking about the bullpen, the weakest part of this team, you're starting to see some reinforcements. You're getting Lucas Sims, who came in here to a big spot and did his job. You're getting Luis Garcia, who should be active tomorrow for the series in Arlington. And Chris Martin and Justin Slayton, plus Liam Hendricks, are also slowly making their way back to the Boston Red Sox. You're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a reminder that while it feels like the world is just simply crashing down on this Red Sox team right now, that may not actually be the case. Again, despite the fact that they have been terrible since the All-Star break, they still ended July with a positive winning record. They're still very much in the mix for a playoff spot, and they're still getting healthy and getting pieces back. Tristan Casas and Vaughn Grissom are making their way back to the Boston Red Sox. Both of them have started rehab assignments. Grissom's been down there for about a week. Casas has been down there for a couple of days. We're starting to get those guys back. You're starting to get the bullpen back. This could end up being a really interesting blip by the end of the season. Now, the question is, can they continue to do this? They got their first series win since the All-Star break. This should be a confidence boost for this Red Sox team. But now, heading into August, this is going to be probably easily their toughest month of the entire season. If you take a look at their schedule, they're facing basically almost exclusively wild card or playoff contending teams. It's going to be a battle to win games every single day for the month of August. So this is where they really need to get their heads screwed on right. And hopefully this Seattle Mariners series was the exact moment that they do that. But we're going to have to wait and see on that. And all of this is just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about this? What do you think about the fact the Red Sox were able to win this series despite some of their downfalls like they've had since the All-Star break? And what do you think this means for the 2024 Red Sox? Let me know all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content basically every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Just helps these videos out a ton, and it's the best way you can let me know you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Don't forget, if you want to listen to these episodes instead of watch them, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.